Nanalo ng Family Feud ng Team Lama Tons of Barlig ng 200,000 pesos.
Family Feud, 5:40 p.m.
Welcome to my episode that is called
Nagmamano pa.
That's okay.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. The U.S. federal government has shut down for the first time in more than 6 years after a midnight deadline passed for agreeing on a federal budget. Key services have now been paused, leaving hundreds of thousands of civil servants without pay. The dispute centered on Republicans' cuts to public health care spending. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has told a meeting of America's highest-ranking generals and admirals that he's overhauling the military as well as ending political correctness and limiting the definition of toxic leadership and bullying. Hundreds of senior officers were called in from deployments from around the world for the address in Virginia. Search and rescue efforts are underway in the Philippines, where at least 69 people are dead after a strong earthquake. It collapsed buildings and triggered a landslide near the epicenter in Bogo City, which buried houses. The earthquake measured 6.9 in magnitude. This is DW News from Berlin. More on the website, dw.com.
From Reuters TV, U.S. at 6:31 p.m. today.
Today, the U.S. government goes into shutdown. Defense Secretary Hegseth takes aim at generals he calls fat as he warns change is coming to the military. Silicon Valley tech entrepreneurs take their skills to the battlefield. And Trump cuts a deal with Pfizer to sell cheap drugs direct to consumers. It's Wednesday, October 1st. This is
October
Reuters
1st.
World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week. I'm Kim Vanell in Wanganui, New Zealand. The US government has shut down. At just after midnight, federal funding lapsed after the Senate failed to pass a funding bill, meaning all non-essential services are halted and tens of thousands of workers will be sent home without pay. President Trump is threatening to use the opportunity to continue a permanent purge of federal workers.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs.
That would be a further brain drain for the government, with more than 150,000 workers leaving the payroll this week after taking an earlier buyout. So, what stays open and what will close? Social Security will keep issuing retirement and disability benefits, but 12% of the entire department will be furloughed. The IRS will be staffed for 5 days, although it's not clear what happens after that. 2 million military personnel will be kept at their posts without pay, as will some. Immigration courts, though, will keep running because President Trump declared illegal immigration a national emergency. A second detainee has died a week after the Dallas ICE shooting. 31-year-old Miguel Angel Garcia from Mexico was wounded by a sniper at the Dallas field office and has died as a result of those injuries. A third victim remains in hospital. A rare deal between Washington and Tehran, marking an unusual moment of collaboration. The US has begun deporting around 400 Iranians. The group includes both convicted criminals and people who had entered the US illegally. It's according to officials who spoke on condition of anonymity.
Good morning and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth speaking to an unprecedented gathering of top military commanders at Quantico. He says it's time to get rid of diversity initiatives, emphasizing, among other things, fitness and body size.
It's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
Fitness tests will now use the male standard for both men and women, meaning everyone in combat roles must meet the same physical requirements regardless of gender. President Trump also spoke at the meeting.
Gives Spider.
He's here for foreign conflicts.
We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military.
Pentagon reporter Idris Ali is in Washington.
For him to now say, use this as an opportunity to train for, foreign conflicts, for other situations, I think it's going to raise a lot of eyebrows because for,
who are turning their talents to military tech. That is the Bullfrog, an AI-powered machine gun that tracks and shoots down drones. It's built by Allen Control Systems, founded by Steve Simoni, a former Silicon Valley star who sold his startup to DoorDash for $125 million. Defense and space reporter David Jeans has more now on the entrepreneurs creating the future of warfare.
I think what they bring with them is they have a high tolerance for risk, a high tolerance for failure, and a high tolerance for raising hype around their companies. They also bring with them a new energy to this space, which has disrupted the traditional prime contractors like Boeing and Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin.
David says that what's been most striking is the speed at which Silicon Valley has shifted.
It was only in recent years that people were protesting military companies and military work, and now Silicon Valley and its investors are all in on a more patriotic and more military-focused approach. I think that has come with the understanding that the world is starting to feel like a less safe place, and there's also an understanding that the US military is largely unprepared for the future of warfare, and that Silicon Valley believes that it has the answer to help it modernize.
President Donald Trump says he's made a deal with drug company Pfizer to sell cheap medications directly to consumers on a website called Trump RX.
Pfizer is agreeing to provide some of their most popular current medications to all consumers at heavily discounted prices of anywhere between 50 and even 100%.
It's for Americans on Medicaid and will launch. Earthquake hit the center of the country. Agencies are searching for survivors and trying to restore power and water supplies. A hospital near the epicenter is overwhelmed, according to officials. And now, Labubus, and how the makers of the ugly cute dolls are borrowing from Disney's playbook to turn their monsters into global franchises. Owners Pop Mart are planning to create content, merchandising, and to expand on their existing small theme park in Beijing. Here's Reuters China consumer correspondent Casey Hall.
They definitely seem keen to do more in the theme park space without giving a concrete timeline for when that would actually be complete. The CEO of Pop Mart Wang Ning has also told Chinese state media that they've spoken to studios about the possibility of content, something like TV or film products, again without giving a timeline. People are starting to ask questions about the longevity of Labubu's popularity, so it really is vital for them that they can create a situation where they can utilize the popularity of Labubu in a way for a bit longer.
And for today's recommended read, how Tony Blair's return to Middle East diplomacy reopens old wounds and new doubts. Trump named Blair to serve on a Gaza peace board, but not everyone is happy with the decision. You can read more by following the link in the pod description. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast player. If you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.
That's it for your news updates. To see more stories, open Google News.